good. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sean and Sax Show. We're live. We're here. Sax has wet pants because she doesn't know how to hold a can, and that's fine. It is what it is. Q&A. You ready for Q&A?
Yep, they're my favorite.
Yes. Are you sure? There's some really good ones in here.
I'm ready.
We're going to just dive into it. So we've got a Q&A. We have a bunch of really good questions. There's some really deep ones in here that should be quite interesting for Saxony. But we're going to start with an easy one, okay? We're going to ease into this to get your brain working.
Thanks, dear.
You're welcome. Really simple one, but it's actually really good. Favorite date night? You go first. Favorite date night. And I'm sure they're saying favorite, like, not like what's your favorite date night, but like favorite date night activity.
My favorite date night activity is, I have so many. I really love when we go on a Harley ride when it's summertime. That's one of my favorite things. I also love just taking a bubble bath and always eating.
And
I love
what?
Food.
Always eating
Always
food.
when you feed me good food.
Yes, we always have good food.
We're
really simple.
We're really
like let me just jump in here. Like we're really simple. A lot of people. There's a couple questions about date night, and this is why I wanted to jump on this one because like there's a ton of people that think like date night needs to be this crazy elaborate thing. There was a bunch of questions about how do you do date night, how do you like find time for it, and there's another question we'll get to. But like we keep shit really simple. Like my favorite date night is when we go eat and then we walk around the mall.
Yeah, I just posted that yesterday.
You did?
That memory of.
Yeah, because it's like we just chill. We just spend time together. We walk around like with the video of us in Nordstrom's. We just went in, we were laughing. We were trying on glasses. She gets stuff. I get stuff. Like we're trying shit on. And it's just like, I think a lot of people overcomplicate date night. The whole purpose of date night is just spending time together. It doesn't have to be, again, elaborate and this huge, long 6, 7, 8 hour deal. Like for you and I to go spend an hour, like no cell phones, no people, no things, no anything. It's just us at dinner and then us to just spend time together. I mean, there's times where we'll just sit and talk. Yeah. And that's like the best date night because there's no business, there's no kids, there's no things. It's just us time. So I think a lot of people need to figure out how to just create simplicity around date night and just spend time together. Yeah.
That's it. It's really just uninterrupted time, quality time together.
Yeah.
Like the activity, I do think people get too caught up in like, well, what do I do? It's like, just go get a blanket and pack a picnic and go to the park.
Our
like
first
just be together.
That's how you fell in love with me.
Probably.
Harley ride, sitting on a blanket next to a lake, talking. That was our first date.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really simple. Wasn't elaborate. And crazy.
I did love that very, very much.
Yeah.
It was a great first date.
Keep it simple. Keep date night simple. All right. Next question. This one's for me, but I want you to talk about this too.
Okay.
It says, before you met Sax, did you ever plan to remarry? Now, the whole marriage thing has been interesting. And I'm going to say no to that. Say, no, I didn't. And I think that was just simply me and my ego thinking, all right, marriage, whatever. I don't need marriage. I don't need the institution of marriage. I can be as committed without having the piece of paper from the government than with the piece of paper from the government. And I know that there's a lot of guys, especially guys that have been divorced, that have that same mentality. Like, do I want to do it again? Should I do it again? Right. Let's just like cohabitate, hook up, blah, 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 blah. Let's say that we're here. Say we're committed, the whole thing. But I started really looking into this and understanding, like, as we started dating, we got serious, like in 2.0, like I realized that the institution of marriage, like it wasn't necessarily like we had to have this piece of paper for this experience, but I knew that you wanted a certain level of commitment, right? And you can break up being married, you can break up not being married. Like it's not necessarily the framework of having this piece of paper. It's not like it binds us to something that is like not, reversible. But the truth of the matter is, for me, I knew that was important to you. And I think something that a lot of guys, me included, didn't see is that marriage was important to you. And if I value you and I love you and I want to show my commitment to you, then there's certain things that I'm going to need to look at and do, such as marriage, that in my mindset, it wasn't important. And this goes both ways. Yeah. There's certain things that are important to me that you have to look at, adapt to, have conversations around. But I didn't think that I'd get remarried. In fact, we talked about this when we were dating. I was like, marriage, what do you know, blah, 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 blah. And you were kind of like, no, this is important. Like, this is something that I want to do. Like, I don't want to play house. I remember you telling me that one time. You're like, I don't want to play house. I don't want to live together. I don't want to move in together. I'm not interested in playing house. Like you were very clear. Like, I'm at a stage in the level of this game of life where I would rather just be in my backyard with my plants than just play house and have this not work out. And so I had to really understand, you know, something that you wanted that I didn't necessarily need was important for our commitment and our relationship.
Two things is, one, you're right. I didn't want to play house. And a big thing that I think that people do struggle with is speaking their truth. And I was very comfortable telling you exactly what I wanted. I think so many times you hear people in struggles, and what it really is they never fully disclose what they wanted. You know, it's like if it's marriage, children, or the opposite of that, it's like you have to be willing to speak your truth and have that person possibly not want to align with that. But doing that gives them a full disclosure of what you want, and then they get to decide, and then you get to know for sure.
Boundaries. Like you had boundaries. Like, and I think this is super important, especially when you're dating. You've got to have boundaries. Like if you're a woman and you want marriage and you're dating somebody who's like, yo, I'm not interested in marriage at all. I don't want to I'm not going to get married again. You got to know, hey, this is not my person. You can try and convince them, persuade them. You didn't do any of that. You just said, here's my boundaries. Like, I'm not going to move in with you. We're not going to live together. We're not playing house. And so it was like, okay, if I want to be with Sax, here's her boundaries. This is what I get to look at in my own life. And I think having those boundaries is really, really, really important, because it actually helps you in dating figure out who to be with and who to not be with. Who to spend time with and who to not waste time with.
And I think this has a lot to do with too, is when people are like, well, the guy that I'm dating is blank, blank, blank. And it's like, well, did you actually align with the person who's headed in the same direction as you and wants the same things? Because all of these situationships you hear about, it's like, I don't think people are being like situationships.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that before. Did you just come up with that?
I did not.
Oh,
nope. I'm clever.
We heard that on somebody else's podcast.
I saw it on the interweb.
Oh.
But it's like if you were like telling people, hey, this is what I want. Oh, hey, that's not what I want. Okay, cool. We could be friends. Let's keep moving. But they keep trying to manipulate things into happening. It doesn't. It just doesn't ever work out in your favor.
Totally agree.
But to that, I totally need to get married again. You were putting that vibe out on Instagram before you even knew me. Oh, you were like
that I was going to get married.
Oh yeah, it was like way in the ethos. Like you were like,
this is a whole nother podcast. Zach's like
putting the love out there. Oh, for sure. And I think most people. I think that's why when we did get together, it was such a big, like so many people responded to it. Like if you look at our marriage one. When you posted about marriage, there's like over 30,000 likes on it, right? On Instagram. And it's just because people were engaged in you, and like everybody was excited. Not everybody, but all of those people were excited that you had found your queen, who you had been talking about for a long time.
I know. Sax kind of saw through it too. We joke about it. She's like, I saw through your shit. She's like, you tried to be the hard ass and the tough guy, but I would read your posts about the queen and the whole thing. And
I'm like, because Queen's not just going to want to move in when she's got a great house and 3 gardens in her backyard. She's got a good thing going.
Oh, boy. All right. Next question. This is a good one. This is a really, really good one. In fact, this question has come up multiple times for us in the past few months. This is a really good one. My husband won't let go of the past. Is there still a way to make it work if he won't let it go? Do you want to take that? You take that first, because I think this is really, we've had people approach us saying, hey, there was a guy who was like, hey, my wife, I slept with people before we got married. She won't let it go. And then we had literally the same thing. There's a lot of people that are hung up on the past with their partner's past. Yeah.
I think if I was in the wife's position and my husband wouldn't let it go, I either need to accept that this is the reality of the relationship.
Yeah.
Because you can't convince him to change. And you need to decide, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Like, are you okay that your husband is going to be bitter about whatever it is, Yeah. And we don't know what broke the trust or what is the history they're hung up on. because then we could like speak to that. But generally saying like, it's like you get to either decide, do you want to be there? Because we all have a choice if we want to be in the situation we're in. No one's stuck. Doesn't
Sure.
matter if you're married, you have kids. Like we're not sewn together. Like you have a choice. You're showing up in that, and you need to accept, or you need to decide, is that going to be suitable for you for the rest of your life?
Yeah. So my answer might be interesting to some people because I chose to do things really different with Sax when we were dating. You know, a lot of the psyche and the ego of dating is like, who are you? Where have you been? What have you been doing? Is this going to look good or bad on my resume? Like, how does this all
So
work? Right?
weird.
It's what it is. It's just
weird.
truth. It's what it is. And when I was dating Sax, I realized like, and this was part of my own personal evolution, my own growth. And I think truthfully, me coming out of my own ego and getting away from some of that stuff, I really, and still to this day, I know enough about your past to know enough about your past.
Mhm.
I don't really care about a lot of your past. And I don't mean that in an insensitive way, but we talked about this. Like, I don't care how many people you've slept with. I don't care about this, about that. Like, what I realized in dating you is I'm dating you now.
Mhm.
I'm not dating you 10 years ago. I'm not dating you 5 years ago. I'm not dating your exes. I'm not dating your baby daddies. I'm not dating any of that shit. Like I'm in this moment with you now. Right. And if you really stop and think about that, I think a lot of people are afraid of their own reality. And so they want to just naturally attach to, well, oh my gosh, the past, and I can't let go of the past. Imagine that for 2 seconds. It's a terrible way to live, but it's a terrible way to be in a relationship.
Mhm.
I realized too that your past doesn't matter to me. A lot of people are hung up on the past. A lot of people, especially dating, like, who are you and where have you been? How many people have you slept with? It doesn't fucking matter. It really doesn't matter, because what does that have to do with me and you?
Mhm.
What does that have to do with us right now? And so my challenge to people is really understanding, like, literally look at the person that you're with. You're right here, right now. This is the life that we're living. This is the day that
Yeah.
we're in, not yesterday, not 2 years ago, not 10 years ago. Because I've done a bunch of dumb shit. You've done a bunch of dumb shit. I've got a track record. You've got a track record. What does that have to do with today?
Right.
Nothing. And so I challenge people to really look at it from that perspective and realizing, like, if I'm choosing to be with you and you're choosing to be with me right here, right now, yesterday doesn't fucking matter. It's a learning experience. But truthfully, if you've slept with 2 people or 200 people, what does that have to do with me right now? Truly, like, what does that have to do with
Right.
my relationship, my love, my connection to you right now?
Yeah.
Now, some people might say, well, that matters. Why does that matter? Truly, why does
it
that
only
matter?
matters because somewhere deep down they're insecure about
Exactly.
something. Period.
Exactly.
Because the thing is I don't want to be judged for my past and things like, what would I do?
Sure.
How can I change that now?
Right.
Like, oh, am I, it's like, but do you want to be judged for everything you do? Do you want
Exactly.
me to go through and tit for tat? Like,
Yep.
nobody wants that treatment.
100%.
You need to either love them or like handle your shit.
Right.
But like that, I don't understand that either.
I get it. I totally understand it. I just choose to do it differently.
If a person was doing fucked up shit, I'm going to judge you probably.
Yeah. But what is that? I did some fucked up shit.
No, I mean like fucked up shit.
Like, I did some fucked up shit.
No, not when we're not talking about the same thing. I'm just saying, like, if you were a terrible person,
Sure.
you have never been
Yeah.
a terrible person, dear.
Yeah.
I assure you, you have not. I know enough people from your past that you're not a terrible person.
Yeah. All right. Next question. You say men should lead in relationships and in the household. Should they also lead in the pursuing stage of dating? I struggle with this because social media keeps telling us women to stay in our feminine energy, but I also feel like nothing really happens if I don't make it happen, considering I take action in every other area of my life. Would love your thoughts on this. What do you think, babe?
Feminine is flow. There's no stagnation to being in your feminine. It's not sitting there and waiting for some night to show up.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of it, is what does it mean to you to be in your feminine? Because I was very much in my feminine when we dated
Mhm.
the second time, a little less the first 1.0, but I didn't sit there and just wait for you to show up.
Right.
I spoke my truth. I laid boundaries out there, but I
Mhm.
also I did let you lead, but I communicated very clearly about, what I wanted and what I wanted for us. And I planned dates. I made things happen. There's nothing masculine about, when I planned that dinner and had the boys set up a picnic like a little table and chairs up in the mountains, and because I knew you were having a rough day and got, had a really
Sure.
nice steak dinner up in
Yeah, it
the
was rad.
mountains. Like there's nothing masculine about that. I think that even if it comes down to initiating sex, like especially when we're dating, I initiated probably the most of our sex period. And that's not being masculine. It's being, if you're trying to be like controlling or structured or like bossy or, those things, that's going to be more in your masculine, but you can very much be in your feminine and still pursue a man.
Totally.
I pursued you, I think, more
you
aggressively
did.
probably than
Well,
you did me.
Well,
honestly.
initially,
yeah.
Until I made that choice. And I think that's a really powerful part of this answer. And the question is, you say men should lead in the relationship in the household. Should they also lead in pursuing stage of dating?
Well, and one last thought is I was like very clear. Like when I went all in with you, I just told you.
Right.
I didn't say, but I need to know where you're at.
Right.
And I need this. Like it was like, no, this, here it is.
Like I think looking at this question, when you say, again, she says, you say men should lead in relationships. Should they also lead in pursuing stage of dating? 100%. I mean, if a man wants something, he's going to go after it. Mm-hmm. So if a man's not calling you, texting you back, whatever, there's your sign. There's your answer. Mm-hmm. And this is a really big struggle nowadays because most people don't know how to tell the truth. Most people aren't honest with themselves, let alone with the people that they're pursuing. If I wanted something, I wanted you. And that was a really interesting part of our 1.0 is that neither of us was really all in. We were still kind of dealing with our own stuff, leveling ourselves up. Yeah. But make no mistake, like a man will pursue what he wants. If a man wants a car, he will pursue whatever he needs to do to get that car. If a man wants a woman, he will do whatever he has to do to pursue that woman. If a man wants to build a business, and this is something like I think a lot of people struggle with, is it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no, toxic anything. If I want you, I'm coming for you. I'm going to get it. Right now, if you're like, hey, fuck you, here's a restraining order, that's a different story. Right. Yeah. But the reality is like a man should absolutely be in pursuit of what he wants. And
then
so if you're
further, sorry, go ahead.
But what I'm saying is if you're dating somebody, like, cause that's what she's talking about. Should he do in the pursuit in the early stages of dating? Sure. If we go on a date, like, and I tell you, yo, let's date again, or I really enjoyed this, let's do it again. And I don't call you, don't text you, there's your sign. I'm not being honest. Right. But if we go on a date, like as a guy, we're going on a date, like I pursued you. I wanted to go again. I continued to talk to you. I continued to text you. I continued to drive by your house, leave little notes, almost get shot by your neighbor kind of a thing. That was a really funny story. I showed up at Sax's house one night. I don't know where I was, what I was doing, but it's like 1 a.m.
You were coming back from the
something
Antifa stuff downtown.
I don't remember. Anyways, I wrote a note. I had a parking ticket and I actually wrote a little love note on the back of a parking ticket. But as I was sitting out front of Sax's house writing this, some freaking drunk dude comes out and he's your neighbor and he's like knocking on my window and I grab my gun. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Right. Anyways,
I had a really nice neighborhood too. I never,
it was.
I didn't know things like that happened after dark.
What were you going to say?
Oh,
you forgot. This is. I truly believe though, like unless you remember what you're saying, that a man should and will pursue if he wants something.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. So there were times though when we were dating that you weren't really like, you were very busy with other things, other women, right? Let's just be honest. And it kind of did. There was almost like a little bit of like, hey.
Yeah, our 1.0.
Yeah. So maybe share that because even though you wanted me, you were also kind of all over the place. And what is it that I did or didn't do that helped kind of like put you back on the pursuing course? Because
you
women
were really
might be
clear.
like,
sure, you were really clear. Like that was what shifted things in me, right? If I'm in ambiguous land and you're in ambiguous land, don't be surprised why we're always in ambiguous land, right? Mm-hmm. You got really clear between our 1.0 and 2.0. And I think, if anybody has no idea what we're talking about, go listen to our past episodes. We talk about our dating life and how it worked out extensively, right? But when we were both on the fence in ambiguous land, like we weren't really dating. We were all over the place. You were doing you, I was doing me. But that 2.0, when you were like, yo, here's the deal. I'm not here to play house. This is what where I want to be. And you planted that flag. That showed me that like, if I was going to pursue you and wanted you, like this is how the game had to be. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, that's not you being some crazy bitch. That's not you being some masculine fucking whatever. That was you planting your flag, and this was the boundary. And so I knew that if I was going to pursue you and wanted you, these were the rules that you were going to play by. And that showed me that this is how I had to show up here, right? And that shifted a lot in me. And so it wasn't necessarily you being a bitch or saying you had to do this, or it was you holding your boundaries and me seeing that I did want to date you. And I knew that if I wanted to date you, I had to change the game for me. And I did. And that's where we both decided to go all in. And I think it's a really powerful thing for both a man and a woman to plant their flag and truly understand what they want. And I think there's a lot of people that are dating that just don't know what they want. Yeah. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Neither of us really did. We said we did, but we weren't really sure. And then when we got really clear, it was like, oh shit, this is exactly what I want. And this is how we both had to show up. And we did. But I knew that I was moving into a place of wanting to be in a relationship, wanting to be in a committed relationship, and not wanting to be in ambiguous land. And you wanted the same thing. But that obviously, when we made that declaration and that happened, like it was game on. Like I pursued the shit out of you. Like there was no like, I don't hear from you for a month kind of a thing. It was like, yo, we're in this, like we're dating, like game on. And
ladies, if you are dating men who aren't pursuing you, maybe step back and take a moment. Like, am I actually speaking my truth? And am I holding myself to a standard where I'm not going to associate with guys that aren't in alignment for what I want? Like, and then you're not wasting your own time, and you open up more opportunity for those people who are in alignment with you to come into your space.
Same thing for
the fellas. But if they're full, if your schedule's full and you're energetically full, like you're gonna, you know, so make sure you're honoring. I got all these things, feathers and hair.
Same thing with the fellas.
Yes.
Good answer. Okay, next question. How do you approach each other when you are getting pissed off at something the other person is doing? Well, first of all, I don't get pissed off. I don't ever get pissed off. The question continues, is there a framework that you use, or do you just straight up say, this is pissing me off, this is why, let's talk about it? Babe?
Let's see how you handle this one. Radically fierce with honesty when we are upset about something.
Correct.
And that sometimes is not, let's just say it's not ever sugar-coated with us. We're both very fierce. We're both very fiery. But we promise truth. And so if I'm upset about something, I just say it how it is. And sometimes you don't like that. And then you say it how it is. And sometimes then we're in a predicament where it's like, well, shit, neither of us are really enjoying this moment right now. We're both like, well, you, and we're very prideful, and we're very, but then eventually, okay, so what do you do with that? And so that's when we usually have to sit and process it.
A chair.
Process it through ourselves. Yeah. Like literally, like me, myself, and I get to process, okay, I'm upset about this. This is my part in it. I know that. This is his part. I'm going to, I'll have a conversation with that as well. And then we just kind of duke it out.
We either handle it really quick and really simply, or we go to fucking war. And there's only one way for us to solve that, and we have to step back. Like, period, end of story. We still don't have really like the safe word that a lot of people will have, where it's like, okay, you say this and we're out kind of thing. But the truth is, like, when we get into it, we both know, like 99% of the time whenever we're at war, which we are sometimes, you know, it's never really what we're arguing about. But I think what they're asking is like, is there a framework? Is there a process? I have committed myself to truth. Sax has committed herself to truth. So when I say, yo, I can't talk to you right now, like, this is the game, this is where I'm going and what I'm doing, she respects that, and vice versa. You know, Sax is not a confrontational person, and she'll say, you know what, I can't do this right now. I'm not going to do this right now. I'm going to go do this. My natural reaction is to run after her ass and like, yo, we're going to solve this shit right now. But I also know that that doesn't ever happen. So the framework of radical truth and honesty, I really believe, is one of the foundational things that will get you through any storm. Is if I say, hey, you know, whatever the word is, you know, black Vans shoes, that's it. Like, we're done. You take your time. I take my time. This is what we've committed to. But I think that's also really like, that's a really efficient way to deal with conflict, to deal with shit is I think in the early stages, we still had a lot of our trauma, a lot of our shit, a lot of our own abandonment issues, which we
were
both
terrible
have.
fighting
And
beginning.
we didn't fight efficiently. We didn't argue efficiently. But I think if you're, Andrew asked this question, if you're in a relationship where you trust this person and they trust you, that has to be the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say, hey, I'm really fucking pissed off right now, we just literally had this today. You're like, what's up? What's going on? We were coming back from date night. We, we went and spent the night up in the mountains. I was like, I'm just pissed right now. I'm super fucking stressed. I got a bunch of shit going on. I did not sugarcoat it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to trust that person, and you have to trust yourself enough to be able to say, hey, I need 15 minutes to go process. I'm going to go process. And then in 15 minutes, you come back to the table. It's honesty, it's truth, it's vulnerability. You both respect each other enough. And I think a lot of times what I've found with us is in the earlier stages, everything became like cataclysmic. Like we ran to like end of the marriage. We're breaking up over fucking everything. It was because we both had severe abandonment issues that we hadn't really dealt with, and we had, but we just didn't know how to deal with it together in this dynamic. And so I think the root of our success now, the foundation of our success is honesty. And we both have to trust and believe if I take off, I'm coming back. You take off, you're coming back. And then we will always end up speaking truth to each other.
And we communicate in the process. Like you said, like if someone needs to leave, it's like, hey, I'm leaving, but I'll be right back.
Right.
It's like, you might not think that those little extra words, and I'm coming back,
right,
or whatever it is that reassures the person, like it keeps that safety within your relationship. If it's like, hey, I'm really upset, this is like really got me fired up, like I'm all in, I'm not going anywhere, but this is a lot for me.
Yep.
Like those little words of just reassurance go a long, long, long way, guys. Yeah. And I'm telling you, if you are in the heat of it, reassure your partner, and you will see that like the fire somehow just like calms itself down. Because a lot of what's happening is that person's just like, they need to know that like everything,
Yeah.
And over time, I believe that like that doesn't need to be said as much or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There becomes like a level of trust in that. But yeah.
Agreed. Good question. Good answer. Next question.
Good job, babe.
Holly said, I'm trying to run a business and use social media to help get clients. When you have to be present on social media constantly and you're on your phone, how do you balance that to spend quality time with each other and the family? I'm trying to be present for my family in the moment and not be on my phone, but I have to post constantly. What do you think, babe? Because you're talking to someone, you're married to someone who uses social media to build a brand, build a business, and I'm on my phone constantly.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if they really need to be on constantly, because you don't need to be on constantly.
Right.
Now, if you like did something to where there's a lot of interaction, like you're going to need to be on there a lot. Right. But, I used to do a lot of real estate, and a lot of realtors are like, oh, I have to answer my phone as soon as my clients call. It's like, no, you don't.
Right.
I have to answer my phone if they call me at 11 o'clock at night.
Yep.
You actually don't. You can set boundaries up with your clients that this is, when you're available. So I think a lot of us feel like we have to, because that's kind of like this how our society is. It's like everything's instant message. But if you absolutely have to, then I would say, communicate. Like the kids know that their dad does what their dad does. And if you share what you're doing with me or with them or whatever, we just all know that that's your job.
Right.
Like that's part of your job. It's part of your being an entrepreneur. We understand that. Now, this is why there is no phones allowed, or at least like this type of thing on date night.
Right.
Because that is the time that you allot for me and just me and, for us. And you do the same with the kids. Like if you're going to take the kids on date night, you're with the kids. Now, of course, we can post stuff if we feel like sharing that moment, but you're not on your phone on those times that you give to us. And so then we don't feel like we need to, we're not going without.
Right.
So I think it's really just like that whole balance.
Look, first things first, you don't need to be on your phone constantly. And this is coming from somebody who's running multiple businesses, using social media, building a brand, building, multiple companies using this tool, right? You really don't. I promise you don't. Like you think you do. You think like somebody slid up in the DMs and you have to respond right away. You really don't. And so first things first, there's that. Yeah. I don't spend 8 hours a day in an office. And that was what we discussed when we got together. Like, hey, this is the deal. Like we live a really great life. I can travel the world and run my businesses, but if it's a working hour, I'm going to be on my phone. I'm going to be doing what I'm doing. Right.
Mhm.
And so there's the framework of conversation around that. But you're right. Like when we have date night, when I'm with the kids, when we're doing our family stuff, this, that, or the other, there's just no phones. It is what it is. And I promise you, anybody who's listening to this who thinks that like the world is going to stop spinning unless you hit the DMs back or get back to people right away, you're totally wrong. I promise you, like, you're going to be fine. You can answer them in an hour or 2 or 3 or tomorrow, and it's going to be totally fine.
Mhm.
But I definitely think like frameworking and mapping how you use social media, how you use your phone, period. You know what I'm saying? Like it's wildly inefficient to have your phone while you're working out, especially somebody who's
I disagree.
why?
That phone gets me through those 200
Well,
floors
no,
every
yeah,
single
but
day.
what I'm talking about is feeling like you have to be on a phone call and doing this and doing that nonstop,
no.
right? Yeah, you're using it to motivate yourself and listen
I'm
to
doing
shit.
the opposite of being mindful with my workout.
Exactly.
The complete opposite.
You're trying to numb your brain so that you don't engage in the
I don't want
suck
to pay
of the
attention to
workout.
the fact that
What I'm talking about is trying to like have calls and DMs
I'm
and stuff
just
while you're
teasing.
trying to lift.
Yeah,
But
I agree with
it's
you.
really not. It's not as big of a thing as you guys think. I
Yeah.
promise you, you can step away from your phone for 15 minutes and you're going to be absolutely fine. Okay. This is a good one. Logan said, living a busy lifestyle, how do you incorporate your time together into busy schedules? It's very, I mean, I'll take that. Like, we're very, very intentional with our schedule. We're intentional with our time. Last night was date night. I called the resort. I got us a couples massage booked. We booked dinner. The second that we got in the car, you know, you said, hey, date night, because I had my phone and I was finishing up like a text message.
Mhm.
You said date night. We weren't on the phone the rest of the night.
Yep.
Plain and simple, done and done. Like, we're very, very, very intentional. If you're going to be intentional with taking a meeting with a client, be intentional with date night. If you're going to be intentional with like going to the gym and doing your workout, be intentional with your time together as a couple, right? And I also want to say this, like, I know that Sax doesn't want the quantity, she wants the quality. I think we would probably kill each other if we had to spend 5, 6, 7, 8 hours
my
a day
next thought.
together.
I was like, I'm good because I like to do my
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah.
we are together a lot.
So guys, pay attention to that. It's not necessarily the fact that you have to spend 5 hours a day dedicated to your wife with no phone, no whatever. But if you're on date night, like, there are no fucking phones. Like, if you want that quality time to where you can be on your phone, whatever, or do whatever you want, like, we're both very, very busy running a lot of different things. And yet the quality time that we spend together is very, very, very quality. Yes?
Indeed. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well,
Here's an interesting one. How do you two stay motivated? Life is like a roller coaster for me. I want the high energy and drive to change my life. Where do most of us go wrong? Go ahead.
You lack consistency.
Like what?
Consistency.
Okay.
I had a woman ask me the other day. She said, how, talking about what is my workout routine? She goes, I try things, but I'm just not consistent. And before I even finished reading her question, my answer was consistency. It's that we do things so habitually that we stay sharp in making sure everything's taken care of because we're consistent.
Yep.
Our lives, guys, like, are pretty dang like
Our lives,
Mondays are pretty much the same as every Monday. I mean, of course,
Mhm.
there's a lot of variety, but like structurally, we do the same thing almost every single day,
Right.
Every single week, every Wednesday date night. Like,
But it's never boring. It's not just like,
no,
oh, this
that's
is
what I'm saying. Is
same
the
shit.
framework is the same,
Right.
but what happens in those categories of the framework is radically different, right?
Yeah.
But our life, like, we both know we wake up and go to the gym.
Right.
We wake up and work out. We don't even think about it. It's not like
Yeah.
should I go to the gym today? We're
Yeah.
so honestly become like,
Yep.
It's like autopilot. We go
Yeah.
to the gym. We know what to do with the kids. We know what we're doing for our businesses. We know when, it's Thursday's content day, Wednesday's date night. It's like, so it's not hard to do that
Right.
because we just know what every day entails.
Yep.
And it's
Yeah. I mean, but let me ask you this. What's wrong with the roller coaster? Everybody loves roller coasters unless you fucking puke your guts out on them.
I don't love them.
Roller coasters are up and down. That's what they are.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I know without question that I could be having the shittiest day that won't last forever. It's just like a roller coaster. You could be going down the hill. Eventually, you're going to go back up. You're going to go up the hill. Eventually, you're going to go back down the hill. That's how it works. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out, how do I always stay on? I'm not always on. Am I always on?
Oh, no. Our
No.
life is very roller coaster. But can you imagine if we didn't have
Sure.
the consistent
Right.
structure of our
Yeah,
life, like
but this
it would
question,
be
a lot of people,
chaotic.
yeah, a lot of people are like, I'm always trying to be on. I always want to be high. I always want to be not like
welcome
high.
to the club.
Yeah, but I always want to be positive and happy. How are you guys always so positive and happy? We're not.
We're not.
Period. Like today, I was not positive and happy. I woke up, I was just like in the framework thing, blah, 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 blah. But we continue on. We came home. We did our deal. It's Thursday. We're doing podcasts today. Like, you're never going to be on 24/7. You're never going to be positive 24/7.
Right.
I'm not, you're not. I don't know anybody that is.
So I highly encourage you to go watch Becoming Nobody. It's a documentary about Ram Dass.
Yep.
He literally talks about this. He did everything in his power to try and never come down.
Right.
And we're talking from enlightenment, we're talking from the high, from the being on top, from the happiness, and this whole documentary, which is fantastic, is about his journey into that and realizing that like he ultimately met one person on the planet that doesn't come down, right? Because that's part of the human experience. So understand that there is so much gold in the lows, there's so much gold in the highs, and it's just, that's why we like putting the framework of like making sure things are at least predictable enough so when we're riding a roller coaster, we know what the next day, how to start it and how to process, or how to like, process through it.
Yeah. The quickest way to get out of the shit is to go accomplish something. The quickest way to like change, like if you're depressed, you can sit in your depression or you can go actually do something.
Serve another.
It's just how it works. Like, so if you're having a shitty day, just shift, go do something different, move your ass. Like, it's just how it works. But we're never always on.
No. Heavens,
especially
no.
you, dear.
No
You're
way.
on a roller coaster. Next question. This keeps coming up, but how important is date night to a relationship and why? I want you to take this one.
I'm going to say it's very important, and I'm going to give a different answer this time. I have a few girlfriends who are in great relationships, and they're in long-term relationships, and the partner doesn't think that date night is a priority. And these women are radically, yes, like, I need you to take me on date nights. And their partners it's not clicking yet. And these are guys that have been together for like a long time. So it's, guys, just because you haven't done it and it hasn't been part of your 20-year marriage, it fucking matters.
Yeah.
I know, because I have friends that this matters to. And if your wife's saying it and you're not listening, like, what are you actually telling her? Or vice versa. What are you actually saying if she's saying, I want you to take me on date nights. Like, if you're saying, oh, or whatever it is, however the response, oh, that again, or this or that. It's like that's saying a lot to her in disregarding the fact that you don't want to take her on date nights. Because what date night is it's a quiet moment. It's a fun moment for you two to just be you, without the world, without your children, without your family, without your coworkers, without your friends. It's you two to spend time together. And that tells her that she's important to you. Because men, I think, get very caught up in, producing and like really like, providing. And that's like, oh, that's my love, is look, I'm doing all this for you. And she's like, that's great and all, but I want you to hang out with me. Like, really just give me that attention. Women want that. So it's crucially important.
Let me add to that my 2 cents, because everybody already knows how I feel about date night. Like, it's right. It's literally, people will message me on Wednesdays, be like, hey man, I know when, date night's tonight, so I'll hit you up tomorrow so we can talk about some shit. Like, just random ass people, right? But here's something to really consider. Like, it's a really, really good pattern interrupt. You know what I mean? Like, you could be having the craziest week, the craziest time. The kids could be total freaking assholes. Like, business could be all over the place, whatever. Wednesday night's date night for us. It's just what it is.
It's
like,
strategically Wednesday.
It's always been that way. Like, we'll move it occasionally if there's a thing or whatever. And typically we don't move it. We'll just do 2 date nights in a week, kind of a thing. I mean, shit, we were on a cruise, you know what I mean? And we told the kids, hey, we're going on date night. We're on a cruise on a Wednesday night, and the kids went on one side of the ship, and then we went and explored the other side and went to the art gallery and got food by ourselves. And like, it's Wednesday. The thing that I would say to guys is understanding that it's a great pattern interrupt. You could be having super stressful. You could be in the middle of whatever. It's a really good way to disconnect from the matrix and to just be with your wife. And I promise you, like, if you just go back to that elementary, rudimentary, we're just dating. There's no business. There's no work. There's no anything. We're just fucking smacking each other's ass. We're flirty. We're fun. You know what I mean? It could literally be just sitting and eating ice cream or having a conversation or having a 4-hour dinner. I mean, we've gone to dinner where they've shut the restaurant down and we had other plans and we just sit and we talk for 3-4 hours. You know what I mean? And that just is so primal and so good that it's a really, really good pattern interrupt, especially keeping it consistent. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're halfway through the week and it's a stressful week and you're like, shit, I'm just not going to get around to it this week, blah, 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 blah. That puts you in a really negative mindset and a really bad spiral that you're never going to get yourself out of it. But if you're committed to it, you know, even if it's not just a solid date night, but if on Sunday nights, you're like, this is our date night, whether it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever it is, and you keep that commitment, whatever you're dealing with, like being able to disconnect from that and to just go be together is really, really, really beneficial.
I agree.
It's a great pattern.
It's honestly, I think it's the most important thing we do together.
I agree. We've had days on Wednesdays where we want to fucking kill each other.
Yeah,
we've had Wednesdays, real talk.
We don't always like each other on date night, but we're there.
There have been multiple Wednesdays where I'm like, fuck you. I want nothing to do with you. And I have to do this because it's what I committed to do. I'll send you a text message and I want to just say, dude, like, go jump off a fucking bridge. I don't really care. But I'll be like, I'm picking you up at 5. And there's not a whole lot of friendly. There's not a whole lot of flirty. It's like, but that's the commitment. And it's really hard to stay mad at somebody. It's really hard to be an asshole when like you're going on a date. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I can be angry. We've had a lot of Wednesdays like that. I don't just say not a lot, but we've had some Wednesdays where it is like war. And I'll have to text you like 5:30, be ready. This is what you're wearing, or this is what we're doing, or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. All right. This is a good one. What do you do? Jackie asked this. She said, what do you do to support Sax when she's having a hard time with her health? Now, maybe some people know, maybe some people don't. Sax has Hashimoto's, and this is something that's come on in like the last year and a half. And it sucks. It's not cool. It's not kosher. It's not fun. It's not pleasant. You know, it's a really challenging thing for me because it has affected Sax in a lot of ways, from some of our routines, some of our patterns. And Sax sent me an article a couple weeks ago that was really good, that really helped illustrate.
It's like married to Hashimoto's. I think the name of the article.
And it was a good read. It was not necessarily a whole lot of new information that I didn't already know. But, you know, the truth of the matter is, like, I would want my wife to support me if I got sick. And that's what I would want. And so I know that you dealing with this, it's like I have to adapt. I have to adjust. And that's fine because I would want the same thing. You know, you think about through sickness and health and blah, 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 and all this other, you know, shit that you say when you get married. But the truth of the matter is, like, when you're trying to build something big together, these are just the challenges that show up. There's no one that's going to be on 24/7. There's no one that's going to feel good 24/7. There's no one that's going to be, you know, I mean, anybody who's ever gotten into fitness or whatever, you're never going to be 7% body fat forever. You're going to have your cycles and your months and your moments, and you're going to feel a little softer one day and a little better one day. It's just how it is, right? But dealing with, you know, Hashimoto's, it's something that I've had to look at and say, okay, cool. I can be angry and mad. And there's some days that I'm a little bit less sensitive than others. But the truth of the matter is, like, when we're communicating on it and you're communicating, I think something really important is for you to communicate with me, which you're doing better at. But if you're dealing with a health issue, you know, and you don't communicate with your partner, it's kind of like you're just coming out of left field. You know what I mean? But you being able to illustrate things for me, talk to me, share with me where you are, what's going on, what you're feeling, what the cycle is looking like, then I'm better at seeing that, right? I'm better at observing that and understanding that. And then I can be more empathetic to that and, you know, create new rules, new framework around it so that we can continue to work the way that we want to. Right. I mean, case in point, Hashimoto's, like, Sax is super tired. Like, it makes you really, really, really tired. And one of our things used to be, we'd get up every morning and it was like, every single morning we get up, we're having sex in the morning, right? And I get up early. Like, I'm a 6 o'clock, 6:30 guy. I'm not one of these dickheads who gets up at 2:30 in the morning. I mean, not my jam. but I'll get up at 6:30 in the morning. That's not Sax's thing. Sax will sleep until, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock sometimes. And so there was like the friction as you started not getting up later, and it caused me to get frustrated. And so we had to reframe that, and we had to rework that and understand like, okay, cool. This is something that I'm looking for, something that I want to have continue to happen in our marriage. So we look at it, we adjust it. And I think the more you communicate with me, the more I understand, the more I can be empathetic, and then we can create new rules.
That's it. Is I really had to get to an understanding of almost like oversharing with you in just where I'm at. Not that I needed you to fix it, just so I wanted you to be aware of it. And sometimes I didn't even know what I was feeling or what I was struggling with, but that's information too. And that's where I wasn't communicating at first. And so when I started being like, I just feel like this and I don't really know what that means, but it still gave you something to like, okay, she's just not feeling right, or she's not, because Hashimoto's like messes with your hormones, it messes with your sleep, it messes with your sex drive, it messes with your like mental. I mean, it is like when you're in a flare up, you're upside down, right? But I have a great responsibility in that too, is I don't just succumb to, oh, this is it, you just get to deal with all my health shit.
Right.
No, like Sean knows that I'm doing everything in my power to be in my best state of health with Hashimoto's, right? And so there's kind of that responsibility too, is like, yes, he supports me and sometimes he struggles because it is frustrating, because I'm sure as a husband, like it's frustrating to see your wife struggling. Like that can't feel comfortable. So, some men, when they're frustrated, they get irritated or angry, and women are more like tendency to be cry. And, it's just like how we express these like frustrating emotions. But I also like take radical accountability for the fact that I do have a choice to be suffering tremendously, or I don't even like the word suffer. Like but it would be suffering tremendously,
sure.
Or I can just struggle a little bit.
Right.
But I know that if, it's like changing my diet, changing how even a boundary. It's like, Sean, I'm communicating. I must have at least 8 hours of sleep. I must. Now, if that means you want to go to bed with me, okay, then you get to go to bed at 10 o'clock with me. And then I can get up at this, earlier with you. But it's that communication, so you understand what I need and how, and then you get a choice of like, okay,
right.
If I keep her up till 1 a.m. because we're doing whatever, like I'm not going to get my dick sucked to 7 a.m. That's the truth, right? But I need 8 hours of sleep. So it's like, pick your poison. You want me to stay up late? You want to get up early?
Communication.
Definitely communication. And a lot of empathy. You have to understand that like the person who's sick, like they don't want to be sick. Well, probably there are some people who do, but it's frustrating. It sucks. Yeah. So just communicate.
Yeah. Okay. Last question.
That's it.
Well, there's 2 more, but this one's interesting. I don't know. I mean, let's just ask it. What are your thoughts and insights on ethical non-monogamy?
That just sounds like a bunch of words.
It sounds like somebody's trying to rationalize, like, hey, I want to sleep around.
Wait, I've never heard this.
I know, it's kind of funny. Ethical? That's why I was like, I wasn't going to ask it.
Okay, so we're not harming anyone.
What are your thoughts and insights on ethical non-monogamy? I mean, Sax and I are pretty straight.
This is like ethical, meaning you're not going to harm anyone. Non-monogamy, you want to go sleep with other people. So... Yeah. My thoughts on it mean nothing to your relationship. I mean, let's be honest, because if you're taking a poll, what does your partner think?
Yeah.
And okay, and you ask, so I'll give you my opinion. But if you're asking because you want to use it as like leverage to your partner to be like, well, Sean and Sax said no, but if you and your partner are down for that, whatever. Like if you want to go and swing at your local gym, cool. I don't know. Whatever. Lots of people do it.
It's not our jam.
It's not our jam, but we don't really care if you want to do that. But
yeah,
I don't think that I'm very much, if you know anything about how Jordan Peterson talks about monogamy and relationships and everything, I very much have a stance like how he takes is there's no like I look at it as like diluting energy. Like right. I don't gain anything by sleeping with multiple people. I know this through dating, even just dating multiple people. That's an energy like delusion, like you're diluting what you could be really, really, really consolidated and beautiful within your monogamous relationship. This is my belief. I know that because I did not like dating multiple people. I didn't like hanging out with multiple people. I love to spend all of my time and sexual energy and love and all of that spilling into my husband, that makes me want him so much more. And I feel like that just is the best sex of my life, because it's like I'm just pouring into this relationship and it's like everything. So that's where I look at it.
Yeah. We're monogamous. That's how it is. We're not into the whole swinging thing. And I don't know how people do it, to be honest with you. I don't get it. Like,
I think
I'm
it's
not going to judge it. People can
need
do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, if you're radical, the thing that's the most important, in my opinion, in any relationship is truth. Mm-hmm. It's absolute candor. It's just absolute vulnerable truth. And if like you both want to go do other shit and that's your jam, go do other shit. It's totally up to you. For me, it's just not my jam. Yeah. It never has been. It will likely never be. And we've both talked about this. Like, we're very, very, very happy. And I agree with you. I think, where your energy goes, that's just where it's going to go. And if you're spreading that amongst tons of different things and people and the whole thing, it's like, how do you ever like really build something big with one person? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm after. That's what you're after.
Yeah. But
pretty simple. I just thought it was a funny question.
I've seen
especially
it.
I've seen it. Part, I'm like,
I guess work with other people. I don't know if it's actually working, but
I haven't.
Whatever.
But whatever.
We don't care.
Last question. This is a good one. How do you allow space for Sax to stay in her femininity, all while holding down the fort as mama, wife, etc.? Now, first things first. When you say, how do I allow space? Like, for me, Sax is going to do what Sax is going to do.
You just see my face when I heard the allow word.
Yeah.
I'm like,
we are both very, very, very independent, fiercely independent. Fierce is a good word. We're both fiercely independent people, right? Like, I don't allow Sax to do this or that. Sax is going to do whatever the fuck she wants to do, as am I. And we both choose to be together. We both choose to be in the space. There was no mincing words when we were dating. Like, I'm driving, like, I'm the head of the household. This is how it's going to be. This is how it is. Not in some dictatorial way, like you're just going to freaking wear an apron around all day long and bake me cookies. But I'm not mincing words at all. Like, I am the head of the household. This is how it's going to be. This is, and you respected that. You support that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very, very powerful for a man to step up and own that space. Now, today, you go outside in the day and age and the image and the whole thing, it's like people tell you that's fucking weird, whatever. Bullshit. That's just a bunch of insecure, radically like whacked out people that want you to believe that that's toxic or some bullshit like that. No, this is my tribe, my family. I am the producer, the protector, the provider, period, end of fucking story. Mm-hmm. That will never fucking change, right? I feel like the more I'm in that power, that consistency, that declaration, that choice, it gives you more safety, stability, and opportunity to really be in your femininity, to be a powerful wife. A lot of people think femininity is weak. Bullshit. Like, the exact fucking opposite. My Saxony is radically like,
I believe femininity is probably more powerful, honestly.
Because it's a very powerful reality. And so for me, and then you take it, like, I choose to be 100% in my space of, masculinity in protecting and providing, but that also creates the environment that my wife can be who she wants to be.
You nailed it. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that are confused on this. There's a lot of dudes that have relinquished that power. They're not making good money. They're not strengthening their body. They look like a fucking sack of shit. We're not in a place of power and creation. So naturally, a woman, especially a mother, has to realize, like, if you're not going to protect the family, then I have to. Mm-hmm. If you're not going to provide for the family, then I have to. And that moves her from being in a place of safety and peace into, I have to now drive the fucking ship because he's not. And that's like where you get a lot of conflict and a lot of weird shit goes on there. But for me, it's not an issue of me allowing Sax. Like, what I'm doing is planting my flag in protecting and producing and providing for my family, which then my wife is able to make her own choice and her own declaration and her own decision to be feminine, to be in that space.
So true.
Would you agree?
Yeah, because with you, it's like you told me this is how it was, but I had no evidence to know that exists to be true. So it took me at least a year or more to truly be like, oh,
Right.
because it was foreign to me, but you stayed the course. You just kept doing you. You kept being the provider. You kept being the protector. You kept just being in a very masculine role. And so then little by little is like, I learned that, I actually can let go of some of this.
Right.
And there's times that I get caught back up in it, like, with my business. Like, I love business and I get so in it, and then I have to stop and be like, oh, I'm doing that again. Like, take a breath, and it doesn't mean that I don't want to have a successful business myself. It's that I don't need to, because I, for so long, had to hustle to feed my children, that I still fall back into that once in a while. But you've never swayed, and you don't give me lip service. You don't even really have a conversation around it. You just stay the course and keep doing you. And then I naturally fall into being more feminine, because I realize, like, I'm okay to just be. But the one thing I will add to that is, it's when it comes to our home, like, I'm the boss of our home. And, this is because if you think about it, guys, like, you're gone, you're working, or whatever it is, however your house is set up. When I'm home, like, I'm in charge of the kids, right? Sean's over all of us. I'm over the kids in the house. He's doing the business. I can't expect for him to manage everything, right? Because that's not fair. That would be like, the kids are doing this. Like, no, I'm their mother, and I'm going to handle business, but I'm also going to love and nurture them. But if they're being out of line, I'm going to get,
take care of it.
Check their, and I'm not going to call you and be like, and you need to handle this. Like, no, I handle the kids. So, like, being feminine doesn't mean being docile or like, spineless.
When you talk about being in charge of the home, I'm kosher that. I don't want to fucking pick out where the plants go and what color the couches are. I really don't give a shit. And I'm totally kosher with that. And we talked about that out of the gates. Like, hey, this is your castle. I built it. Like, you manage it. You run it. And you want to move the bed, you move the bed. You want to paint the walls, you paint the fucking walls. You want to put up art, you take art down, you put in things. I don't
ask permission.
I literally don't care if we have gold or silver utensils. I just want a fucking fork to eat my steak.
Exactly.
That's all I care about, right? And I'm genuinely like, you don't ask me for shit. You're not like, can we do this? Can I do that? Can I buy couches? Can I do? It's like, go do whatever the fuck you want with the house. I really don't care, right?
Yep,
and I think that's a very good way of, I trust you to do what you need to do with the house. You trust me to be able to, bring home the buffalo, and that's how it works.
Yeah, and it is. It's honestly, it took time to. So, ladies, if you're stuck, like, oh, I'm dating, and like, how do I get out of this? It takes time.
Yeah.
Like, old habits die hard, and I was like the queen of being a high producing woman in her masculine.
Yeah, you were the bad bitch.
I was the queen of it.
Until you met me.
But that's why it worked. Is I respect your fierceness. I respect your tenacity. I respect your audacity. I respect your resilience and your hard work, because I have been there. Yeah. So but I also don't expect perfection from you. I know that you're working your ass off to take care of your family, and I'm grateful because I've been there, and like, that's dope that you show up for your family like you do. Cause you do. I mean, you show up like to the point where sometimes I'm like, you take care of way too many people. Fuck out these people. But that's you. Yeah. You're you. And I have to also surrender to the fact it's like, this is you're the king of the castle.
That's that's never going to change either. And I want to like just make sure that people understand that, like, there's a lot of, like, I'm never going to give up that role. I'm never going to relinquish that role. And that's not a dictatorial thing. That's not some unhealthy, toxic thing. I know my place. I know exactly what God put me here to do. Yeah. And there's a lot of people nowadays that are swaying because of social pressures or these ideas. And at the end of the day, like, understand, fellas, like, that's your job. Like, that's why you're here. You know what I mean? Plain and simple. You go back not very far, like 2 generations. And if you didn't go hunt, your family starved to death, right? You didn't learn how to fight. You didn't learn how to protect your shit. Somebody just came along and stole it. They stole all your shit. They killed you, took your family. That's it. This is how it's been for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Like just because we have cell phones and electric cars and a coffee shop on every corner does not negate the fact that like you must be a producer, a protector, and a provider over your family. Because if you're not, who will be?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? We could do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah. And women will test you. That's what we do.
Yeah.
I don't know why we do, but we do.
Because you guys are psychopaths.
Ask Jordan Peterson.
You're fucking psychopaths.
Come to Lions Den Live and ask. I'm going to ask Jordan Peterson.
You should.
I am so excited. I'm going to ask him questions like that. Like, enlighten me, because I've listened to a little bit, like where he talks about the Tom Sawyer, like the men. This is what I meant by like the feminine is probably more powerful. Not that it's like superior. I mean, that's not what I meant. But where he talks about how like men do everything in they're just trying to win over the female, right? And it's not one female. It's like I can't remember how he says it, but he talks about Tom Sawyer and how he starts walking on the fence and he's doing this thing because the girl across the street. And it's like, that's what men do. They do everything because they want this approval, they want this woman, right? Figure. And it's like so biological that it's this funny thing. Like men built the world to have the best of this, what's given to them or what they can get, right? It's like the more resourceful, the more odds are I get a better partner. Like you can go down the rabbit hole in this, but that's interesting. So I'm very interested in why it is that women test men, and then maybe it's just to make to reaffirm that man is to be trusted, for her to know that she's protected, and so is her offspring. Like that's a big deal, right? Like we are such vulnerable creatures because we have children, and men can leave. Women can't leave these children, and so we're in a way more vulnerable position. So we have to I swear this is probably why we test and test and test. So instead of realizing like the testing is just, or instead of judging that, just realize that she's going to test you, but you just keep doing you. You just keep being like awesome. Keep showing up. Keep bringing them to Buffalo. If you fall down, cool. Keep going.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and be like, well, my life's horrible. I'm such a failure. Because she's going to be like, well, you are, because you're not doing anything now. Like, keep going. Like, they're not going to persecute you if you keep going. It's if you sit in your shit and you wallow in it, it's like, oh, God. Now, okay, fine. Then I'll go do it. You know? That is a whole other episode.
We should do a whole other episode on this.
Maybe we should do it with Jordan Peterson.
We will.
In September.
We're going to ask Jordan some great questions. Which, by the way, if you're listening to this and you're part of the Lions Den, get your tickets.
You're not part of the Lions Den and you want to see Jordan Peterson in Salt Lake City in September.
Yeah, it's going to be badass.
You should join.
I'm excited to talk to him.
Oh my gosh.
Good Q&A, babe.
I'm going to be a little nervous.
I've already started putting questions together, and this is exciting for us.
It is like the most exciting.
You know, to be able to sit down with somebody you look up to, that somebody's like helped plant seeds, and you know what I'm saying? Such a brilliant figure.
He's so brilliant. He's like my second favorite man on the planet.
Boom.
You're still first.
I'll always be first. You want that protection. You want the buffalo. You better fucking choose wisely there, sweetheart. All right, guys. We love you. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.
I love you. Bye.